Is there any way to change both Leah and Quinta to admin, or would I do that on my end?
I believe I set them up as admins, but let's double check that. So maybe that'll be the first thing we'll do. We'll go into those accounts. I'll show you how to look up those accounts and modify them.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions before we get started?
Yeah, I'm under a staff.
No?
Yeah, so Leah's under staff, and then what are you under? Probably staff too.
I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
You might have a staff account and the new account I created for you, which is an admin account.
Okay,
So-
so we just don't have that login information.
No,
Okay.
it should both be
Yeah.
in this place.
Before the session, I sent an email replying with what your username and password is, but I'll show you what it is in a second. Yeah.
So we use Google single sign-on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we should be able to log in with our Google single sign-on and not have to use the username and password, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do.
If you do the Google single sign-on, it'll log you in, but you're probably logging in. If you didn't have an administrator account, then it's logging with just your staff account. So now
they
that
didn't have an
yeah,
they didn't have an
but now
account
that
at all.
Okay. Well, so they weren't able to log in at all with Google then. Is that what
They're
you're saying?
in, but they're logged in, but it's in a staff account.
That's the staff account, right? So the Google single sign-on is getting into their staff account, right? So because they didn't have an administrator account, but now that I created an administrator account, what we could do is we could merge those accounts, right?
Okay,
and I would
that'd
just
be great.
suggest just going through support and doing that. Said, hey, I need to, either they could add an administrator account or the one I created, they can merge it with their staff account. So when they sign in using Google, they'll have the same credentials, but when they get in, it'll have that higher level of privileges than an administrator would have.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's go in to the wacoisd.parentlink.net. And after here, I'll take you to the first sign-in screen. All right. And you see it here. It's really simple. You have your username and you have your password. And then you also have an option to sign using Google down below. Right. So now I'm not in your network, so I'm not logging with Google. So I'm signing in with the local account that I created in here. So as I hit the sign in, every time you log in, you're always brought to this first screen, this first dashboard. Okay. And you'll notice at the very top on the black bar, it says Blackboard in the upper left, and it has a few links in the upper right, right? Waco ISD, create a message, this little waffle looking icon, the account button, and the sign out all the way in the upper right. All right, underneath that, we have our navigation bar, going to the different menus, and then we have some quick links with these different rectangles on the page. Okay, but let's start with the buttons on the black bar in the upper right. So you'll see sign out in the upper right corner, and you'll see your first name and last name with the account you're logged in with. Okay, just to the left of that, where it says account, if I click on that, it's going to open up this pop-up window. This pop-up window is my account profile for my BB Trainer account I'm logged in with. All right, and after it finishes opening up, there we go, finally, I see my login ID, my username that I'm logging with this site. I see my first name field and my last name field, right, which I see in the upper right corner next to the sign out, displaying that first name and last name. And then very importantly, the role and the school that you have. Right? What role, what type of role is set up for your account, and what school you have for your account is going to determine what you're able to do in this site. Okay.
Got it.
A staff account for say a certain school or maybe the ISD will have more limited rights. So you'll have an ability to possibly send messages, but only be able to send messages for whatever school is set up for your account. But you won't have access to all the settings, right? So you won't be able to change or create certain stuff. You won't have access to maybe all the reports an administrator would have. Okay. Now, the district administrator or school administrator, all right, district administrator being the highest level, district administrator for, say, the ISD, you'll be able to send a message to anyone right? Any staff, any parent, any student, right? Any administrator for any of the schools, right? You have full sending rights to anyone across the ISD. You also have rights to look up accounts or create accounts for anyone across the ISD. You have access to all the reports, all the settings for all the schools, right? District administrator for the ISD. But you could also set up someone as a school administrator or maybe a principal account for maybe a particular school or maybe a couple schools, right? So that way they have full sending rights, full access to the reports and settings, but only for those schools, right? They cannot send messages to students, to parents, or staff at other schools, only for the schools that they are an administrator for. Okay. All right, so that's very important. The role and the school that you have will determine what you're able to access and what you're able to do when you log in. Okay.
Ron, did you say someone can have access to multiple schools?
Yes. Yeah. So you could create multiple accounts and merge them. So when they log in, you're logging in with one account, username and password, but you'll see in the dropdown, maybe not just one school, but multiple, right? You know, you have some principals that sometimes float between multiple schools, or you have some administrator, some other support staff that needs to contact people across multiple schools. So.
Got it.
Now, if I close this account window, I'm going to hit the X in the upper right, and I'll come back to this in a moment. You'll notice in my navigation bar at the top, right in the middle, there's an accounts menu. Right, and this is what I did just a short while ago, and I set up an account for Leah and Quinta, right? So I selected in the dropdown, at least I think I selected in the dropdown, District Administrator, and I hit List Accounts on the right. And I wanted to first check and see, hey, was there a ready account in here for them? Maybe they just didn't know their login credentials. Maybe they weren't aware there was an account in here, right? So I looked through the list, and sure enough, I didn't see their name. So I clicked the Create New button on the right, and I created 2 new accounts. And so for Quinta, I just did the beginning of your email, right? Leah, I did the same, right? So where's Leah's?
Fourth from the top.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, there it is. So did I spell that correctly? Both of your names?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. All right, so that's the username you'll log in with. The password I started you with was 123456. Okay, so if you want to sign out from the staff account you're logged in with and sign in, not using the Google sign in, but just putting in a username and password in those 2 fields, then you log in, you're going to have access to everything, right? Because I set you up as district administrators for the ISD.
So who do we talk to get those accounts merged?
Yep. So I would just contact support. So you'll see the support contact information down below. If I'm not sure who's the main contact, you may be set up with support, but usually support has a small list of individuals that are able to contact support, right? So we don't want like everyone across the district contact support about everything. Right, you want to funnel it through a couple of main contacts. So, but you could call or email at any time, 24 hours support. Okay, they will be able to, set it up, and there you have an administrator account. You just want to be able to merge that with your staff account, right? And if I look under here under staff, and hit list, sure enough, here's Leah's staff account, right? And I'm sure if I do the same thing for Quinta, I'll find their staff account, right? So the staff account will be more limited. Now, I could show you what it looks like. I mean, you've probably seen already. You logged in with your staff account. If I click on Leah's name right here, it opens up their account profile. All right, and I could see the username at the top, and if I wanted to, I could see what Leah sees, right, when she logs in, by clicking the button at the top that says sign in as, All right, and it says, hey, you sure you want to sign in as this account? I'll say yes. So it's basically I'm emulating Leah's account. I'm basically seeing the site. I'm seeing the same thing that Leah sees when he logs into the staff account. So you see, again, not as many quick links on the front on the dashboard, so you don't have access to a lot of the same options, but you do have sending rights as a staff member, right? Click on that, and it'll go to the messaging area, right? And I could create a subject, select who I want to send the message to, when the message will go out, and construct the message right here. Okay. Now, she has a staff account for the administration building, so only be able to send messages to people whose accounts have been set up for the administration building, right? And so I'm not sure how many people have that, but if I click the link right here, it says recipients and the choose, and I'll see how many administration building. All right, there's 440. All right, so there's lots of administration building accounts, right? Staff accounts, teacher accounts, community members, and so on. And a few principals set up for administration building. This is who she could send messages to. All right, if you're logging in with just the staff. Once you've merged the accounts, right, because the administrator account I created for you, the district administrator account was for the ISD. You'll have sending rights for every student, every parent, every staff member across all the district and for all locations, all schools, the administration building, and any other accounts that are created. Okay, so I'm going to hit the sign on the purple bar in the upper left, sign in as VB Trainer, so I'm not emulating Leah anymore. Now I'm back signed in as my account. All right, yeah, so this is where you can look up account types. Now the reason why there's two accounts, maybe an administrator account and a staff account, is more for sending purposes. So if I want to send a message to all staff, then Leah and Quinta both have staff accounts. So they'll be included in that message I'm going to send to all staff, right? But when they want to send out messages to people, I want them to sign with their administrator account. So they have rights to all of the things that they need to have access to when they log in with an administrator account. Okay. And when you merge them, you're going to get the administrator rights. Okay. All right. That makes sense as far as accounts.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. So you could look them up here by account type or by school. Another way you could search for accounts is the account search button here in the upper right. So instead of me having to search one role at a time and say, all right, show me all the school administrator accounts. Now show me all the district administrator accounts, right? Well, I could just come right here in the upper right and click the word John, and I can find all student accounts, all parent accounts, all staff accounts, and principal accounts, and all of them, anything where I found the word John. All right, so it include all the Johns, the Johnsons, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the account profile. I'm going to click the account button in the upper right, which is opening my account, or I could click on someone's name and open up their account. But let me open up my account profile, the account link in the upper right, and point out some of the additional fields on here. All right, so I showed you the top half, right, with the name and the role in the school. Right. You also have some other fields that could be useful if you're querying or setting up certain searches. You know, you could search based on gender or birth date or preferred language. Preferred language is useful because you can send out messages, but also be able to send out messages not just in English, but also in Spanish and multiple languages. Send out one message, but have it go out in multiple languages. People are not receiving multiple messages if you select, say, 3 languages. They're still receiving one message. Which language version they get is going to be based on the preferred language field in their account. So maybe if I'm sending a message to a parent and a student in the same family, Maybe the parent will have a preferred language as Spanish, but the student will have it as English. They both get the same message, but in two different language versions. Now, in the middle of someone's account profile, these are the delivery addresses. So this is where that person, as a recipient, is receiving their messages, right, where they're delivered to. So for me, if someone sends me a message and they send me a phone call, it's going to this number, right, indicated with a little phone icon. If they send me a text message, it's going to this number, which is one and the same number, but this is where I'm going to receive text messages, SMS. And if they send me an email, you notice, right, this is the email with the envelope icon. Right. Now, you could have as many delivery addresses as you want. You could have multiple phone numbers, your home phone, your mobile phone, your work phone, and multiple texts and emails, right? But this is essentially where they'll be delivered to when someone sends you a message. Okay. Now, with these delivery addresses, you'll notice there's a column that says user defined. Okay. Now, in some accounts, like maybe your staff accounts, it will say not user defined, but primary, work, mobile, home, right? Those will be some of the labels you see on here. Now, that's an indicator that those accounts are system generated, right? Meaning your staff accounts have been imported in here and they're updated on a nightly basis from your Google directory, right? In your Google network, right? So there's a file provided either from your Active Directory, which may be Google, maybe Microsoft, or maybe Student Information System, whatever it is. All accounts, parents, students, staff, are all maintained on a nightly basis from that file that is provided to Blackboard daily. Okay. And when I see the labels on here that do not say user defined, they say those other words, primary, work, or mobile, or whatever, then I know they're system generated, system maintained accounts. Okay. But if I have a manually created account, like I created for Leah and Quinta and myself, then I'm going to see the word on the labels column says user defined, means I manually added these, right? And I manually created this username and the first name and last name. Okay. So when I created this account, there were no delivery addresses in here, so I had to manually add them using the add button on the right. And I clicked on that, I clicked on phone number, and I simply typed in those 10 numbers, right? I didn't put parentheses or dashes or dots. I didn't preface it with a 1, right, for international or whatever. I just put in the 10 numbers, right, and hit save. Did the same thing with the add button and did my SMS number, put in the 10 numbers, right? I did not include an extension, and I remembered the area code, right? If I put anything less than 10 numbers or more than 10 numbers, it's going to be invalid. And I did the same thing with email, right? Selected email with the add button on the right and just typed in the email. And I did it one at a time. If I did have multiple email addresses, I'm not going to put them all in here into one field and separate them by commas or semicolons or anything. Add them one at a time, hit save, hit the add button again, add my second email or my second phone number, and so on. All right. And they will have the label that says user defined. Okay. Does that make sense as far as the delivery addresses? Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Now, if I go to one of, say, these staff accounts, right, and another kind of indicator that they're system generated is these numbers, right? So all these accounts are coming from your Google network or your Microsoft network, your Active Directory, whatever it may be. If I click and open up one of these accounts, you'll see the difference between a manually created account and a network created account. All right, once it finishes loading. One quick indicator is the role, right? Notice it's not a drop down. I can't change it. It's fixed text. right? That's one indicator and clue that it's a network created account. I cannot change the role. And the labels down here, notice they all say primary. Okay. Now these addresses I can change if I choose to. I could click on them and make a modification. However, that modification is going to be temporary because tonight, when the nightly update is done from your network, it's going to go right back to whatever it is in the network, right? It's going to overwrite the manual change I made. So if you do have or need changes to the delivery addresses or the account information here, change it at the source, at your network. Don't change it in here. Okay. That makes sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me go back to the account profile. I mentioned the last couple things in here. Towards the bottom of the screen underneath the delivery addresses. All right. Underneath the delivery addresses on the bottom half, we have a reply to phone number and a reply to email address. Okay. These two addresses are much different than the delivery addresses in the middle. The delivery addresses are where I'm receiving messages. This is what my recipients will see if I'm sending out messages. So if I send a phone call, they're going to see, my recipients are going to see the phone call coming from this number in the reply to phone number field. Okay, now it's blank. So what happens is if this is left blank, it's going to revert to whatever I have set up for my school. So whatever's set up in the settings area for Waco ISD, that's the main number that they're going to see when I send out phone calls with this account. Okay. Now the reply to email address field, that's when I send out emails, my recipients are going to see the email coming from this address. Okay. And so you have to have this field filled in. I can't leave that blank, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a working email, right? It doesn't have to be a real box that is being maintained, right? So I could just type something like do not reply or no reply at, wacoisd.org. Okay. So that's one of the things you may want to decide. Do you want to have that same information for everyone, right? Or set up different ones for different schools, right? But these will be the default phone number and email people will see when you send out messages.
And you can change that when you make the message, right? There's an option. I think when we move, yeah.
Yep.
There's a thing to click, and then you can change.
You could pick other ones, yes. So that's why I always said these are the default phone and email that you would see normally. However,
right.
If I want to sometimes send out an email and want someone to reply back, like reply back to the attendance office or the guidance office or whatever, I could set up custom reply to email addresses or custom reply to phone numbers, right? Different than maybe the main phone number, right? Maybe I want a direct line for the athletic office or the nurse's office, right? So they can call back directly to those numbers, right? So those will be custom ones, and that will be set up in the settings area. I'll show you in a moment. Okay. You don't have to come in here into your account profile and change those numbers or those emails all the time, right? You can make a full list of 5 or 10 different ones you could pick from each time you send out a message, right? But if you don't select those other ones, these are the default that people will see.
Okay.
All right. The last item I'll point out in here is this message results email. All right. So this is where if I check this checkbox where it says email delivery results to me, that means every time I send out a message, I'm going to get a corresponding email sent back to me. And that email is going to contain a message tracking report. So it'll say of all the people I sent the message to, how many received the message. How did they receive it? Did it go to an answer machine? Did they pick it up live and listen to the phone call? Did it go to a busy signal? Whatever it may be. So it'll have that breakdown. Okay. Now this is optional. I don't have to have it checked because you could log in and run that report manually anytime you want, or schedule it to be sent to you when you want on a daily or weekly basis. Okay, you don't have to have it be sent to you every time you send out a message. Okay, but if you do have it selected, you need to have at least one email selected underneath so it knows where to send the report to. Okay, so if I don't have anything selected and I hit save, then I'm going to see the red bar at the top. So it's giving me an indicator. Hey, message results email, you need to select an email address. Okay. Now, since I have something selected, I hit save. Now I see the green bar at the top. All right, everything's good with my account. I can close it. Everything's been saved. Okay. Now, if you don't see an email selected, to be able to select, you could just check the blank box and fill one in. All right, so that's account information and looking at the account profile. Any questions related to that?
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna hit the close button on the bottom right, or I hit the white X in the top right of the pop-up window, and it just closes that. All right, so let me go back to the home screen. All right, that first dashboard we see when we log in. And I could get there two ways. I could click the home button on the left of the navigation bar, or click where you see your the ISD or the administration building or your school name on the black bar in the upper right. Either way, either spot takes me back to that same first screen, that dashboard. All right, from here, you'll notice these rectangles right here on the front are quick links to different areas. Either the middle ones like messages sent or app download, these are quick links to some of the reports, right? Or in the upper left corner where it says create a message. Click on that rectangle, it'll take me right into the messaging area. So I could click on the navigation bar where it says messages, or in the upper right corner on the black bar, we could click right there, it says create a message. So either of those three spots takes me to the same place. All right, right into the messaging menu in the first sub menu that says send. Okay, so if you're logged in, you want to kind of follow along with me, go ahead, click on the messaging menu, and you'll be here in the same spot as I am. All right, so I'm going to step through some of the options on the left side, and then we'll talk about how to create a message here on the right. Okay, so the first thing on the left side says type subject. All right, so I'm going to say open house. Okay, that subject will be referenced in a few different ways. If I send out an email, it'll be the subject line for the email, right? It's going to be the subject for the text message. After I send out the message and I want to run one of the reports and see how many people received the message, it'll be referenced in the reports with that subject, that title. I'll see it if I send it to myself. I'll see it in the inbox for messages I've seen, I've received, or in the outbox for messages I've sent. Right, so I'll see, hey, here's a test message I sent earlier this morning. Here's some other messages that other people have sent, right? AVE school, right? Alta Vista, and the time the message went. And these are actually future messages, so these didn't actually go out yet, right? These going out back, July 21st at 9 a.m. And it's going out by email and by text, right? Versus some of these other future messages are going out just by text. Okay. So so those are the different areas, right? The send area, the send messages, inbox messages I received, outbox messages I sent, right? And it'll always reference that title, that subject. All right, I'm going to click on the send area to go back there, still under messages. And I'll notice when I come back here that my subject I typed, open house, is no longer there, right? And any message I started typing on the right side is also gone, right? So because every time you exit the send area, go to any other menu, and you return back here, everything's gonna be blank. Now, however, I don't have to retype my subject and redo wherever I left off. I can pick up where I left off. Just like if you're typing an email in Outlook, it starts creating a message in the draft folder, right? And the same thing here. So on the left side in the middle, it says saved messages. if I click on that, sure enough, I see a drafts folder. And I expand that. Here's my open house message. I could just select it from the drafts folder, and it will fill back in my subject, wherever I left off in creating my message, and any other settings that I've set. Okay. Now, if you click and expand saved messages and you don't see a drafts folder, it's because you don't have anything in draft status, right? So it's not going to show you an empty folder. It just won't show you the folder at all. Okay. And this item in drafts will stay in there for forever until I finish completing the message and hit send, or delete it from the drafts folder. So I hover over, hit the trash bin, and get rid of it. And you see now the subject is gone. Now I can undo that delete from here. Hit the undo while I'm still in this menu, right? And I could select it again, and again, it fills in my subject and wherever I left off as my message. Now, if I do complete this message, right, type something in here, pick which ways I want to send, and hit send in the lower right, it will exit the drafts folder and it will be saved in one of these other folders or categories, right, under saved messages. Because this is under saved messages, I can see things in draft status. I could also see previously sent messages, select them, edit them, and resend. So I don't have to start from scratch all the time. I could also see maybe pre-built message templates, right? So I could pick from a library of pre-built templates. Again, I can have a starting structure for my message, right? And I also may see maybe some surveys. So that's always an option. You could create surveys and send them out so you can get feedback from your public. Right, so those are all the different items you'll see under the Save Messages area. Any questions on that? Save Messages or draft?
No.
Okay. All right.
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How long does it save old messages?
Yeah, it won't delete them. They'll be in here for as long as you need, unless you delete them from here.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's Save Messages area. Now, if you want to follow along with me and you want to send a test message at the end of this session, go ahead and put in a subject. Just pick any subject, practice, test, put your name or initials there as part of the subject line. All right, so underneath our subject in the upper left, we have our recipients area. So this is where I'm going to select who's going to receive my message. Who am I sending a message to? All right, so a couple different ways to search for recipients. You'll notice if you read right here on the screen, it says type to search for recipients. All right, so that's pretty easy. So I could type someone's name. And again, I'll find in this flyout next to it, parent accounts where I found the word John or Jonathan or Johnson or Johnny, and student accounts, staff accounts, teacher accounts, maybe other account types. Okay, and it'll tell where they're coming from. All right, so I could always select certain accounts, parents and students and so on, and it just adds them here on the left side. And I hit done to close the flyout. And then I see these individuals say, oh, actually, I don't want to send it to these people. So I could always click the X and remove them as recipients. Okay. So you could search for names or for even their IDs. Another thing you could also search for keywords. I'll type the word parent and I find, all right, since I'm a district administrator for the ISD, again, I have sending rights to send it to everyone across the ISD. So I could quickly, easily say, hey, all parents, right? Or I say, instead of all parents at the ISD, maybe I just want to send it just to parents at certain schools. So just at Alta Vista and Bells Hill Elementary, right? And remove all parents at the ISD, right? So certain names, keywords, just by typing in the search box. Now, if I search for my account, right, I'm not finding it, right? Because the search box won't pick up any brand new accounts that were created today, right? The search box will find my trainer account tomorrow after this new account has gone through the nightly update at least once. Okay, so Quinta, Leah, your brand new administrator accounts, you'll find your staff account, but you won't find your administrator accounts that just created this morning. Okay. However, if you want to send a message to your administrator account, you could do that by clicking the choose link next to recipients. That opens up this select recipients pop-up window, and you could find any account. Even if it was created 30 seconds ago, you could find it here under the ISD, and I'll go down to administrator accounts. And sure enough, here's my trainer account, right? Here's Quinta's account, Leah's account. I could click and select as many people as I want to send the message to. Right? If I change my mind and say, hey, I don't want to send a message to Leah or Quinta, I could deselect them.
Right. Will it still send a message to us? I'm sorry, will it still send a message to us even though we don't have any information in our admin account though?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, it'll send a message, but if you don't have any delivery addresses in your account, you're not getting anything. It'll work. Okay. It'll, the send button will go and say, yeah, you sent the message. Whether you get it or not, that's a different story, right? So that's going to be related to the data in your account. And that's where those reports that we'll look at a little later come in handy, because then I could track, hey, did that person receive the message? And it'll say it sent it to them, but it'll say, no, but actually they didn't get it because they have no phone number in their account. They have no text number in their account, right? Or it went to a busy signal, or it went to an answering machine, or whatever else, or it didn't get delivered, it was an invalid number. So we'll take a look at that message tracking report and see how detailed it is, giving you as far as feedback, whether they got it or not. Yeah, but the send will work. It'll go through, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that they receive it on their end. All right, and then you can see if I have here for the ISD, if I'm logging in as not a district administrator for the ISD, say maybe for the administrative building, it'll say administrative building here and show me all the accounts created under the administrative building. If you are, say, a principal or school administrator, it'll say that school name, right? And when you look at student accounts, you click and expand that, you'll see just the student accounts for your school. But since I'm for the ISD, I see, hey, student accounts, and then all Alta Vista student accounts, 504. All Brazos High School, 104. Brook Ave Elementary, 359 student accounts. So I can say, hey, I want to send it to all Brook Ave Elementary students. Click select, puts them all here on the right. If I click and expand, I see it. Yeah, sure enough, the 359 of those. All right, so I could select one or multiple schools, right? And those are just student accounts. So I can say, hey, I want to send it to all parents across all schools. I don't want to have to select each and every school. I'm just saying, hey, select all parents. Right, and on the right it says all parents at the ISD, so that includes every school. I say, hey, I want to send it to all parents but Alta Vista parents. Hit remove, and I have all parents at the rest of the schools left over. All right, and I want all parents at University High School except Hilda. All right, so I can remove that one person. Right, so you could select and deselect as much as you want. Now on the right, I can hit remove, remove all those individuals, and remove all. But I don't want to have to click to remove everything, so I'm just hit clear list on the bottom, right, and remove everyone I had selected. Okay. Any questions there as far as the select recipients window, selecting and deselecting?
No.
Okay. Right, and what you see here, again, is based on your account. right? Whether you see the ISD, whether you see the administration building or a school name, who you could send to based on your role and the school set up for your account. All right, when I'm done selecting recipients, I'll hit done in the lower right, closes that window, and I see my recipients here. All right, you want to check and select maybe your staff account or your administrator account if you put some delivery addresses in it. Yeah, maybe to send maybe a test message to yourself. All right, so as you do that, I'm going to move down underneath the recipients area and point out where it says start time. Right, so this is where I'm going to set when my message will be delivered, right, or when it'll be sent out. Right, so the default right now is now. So every time I'm sending out a message is going out immediately. All right, but I could change that. Sometimes I don't want a message to go out right away. I want it to go out the end of the day after I'm already on the road on my way home. Right, so, or maybe I want it to go out, you know, a week from now or tomorrow. Right, so I could do that. I could hit right where it says start time, and I click on that. It opens up this advanced options window. So actually, I could click where it says start time or underneath languages where it says advanced options. Either way opens up the exact same pop-up. Okay. And from here, I can modify. You notice it has the current date and time. So I don't want to go the message out right now. I want it to go out, you know, later on, say at 4 p.m. Right? Or maybe go out tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So I could also change the date. All right, if I hit save in the lower right, you'll notice instead of saying now, the start time is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Okay. Now, the nice thing too is I can have a message go out multiple times without having to come and log in each day and send the same message. I could create the message once, open up the start time, this advanced options, and click the plus sign. So I can have this message go out today at 4, have it go out tomorrow at 4 or 2 or whatever time I set. I hit the plus sign as many different times I want the message to be delivered. Right? If I have a reminder message, right, and I would remind them every day this week until the event happens. Right? So I could do that. I can even have this message the day of the event, right? Or maybe the last day of the month. I want to remind someone about something they need to do before the end of the month. Maybe I'll have it alert them at 7 a.m. before they leave for school or leave for the office, right? They come into work. So I'll set this for 7 a.m. But notice as I select 7 a.m., I get this red text that shows up. It says, you must choose to send during the blackout times or change your start time. So right here, it says our blackout times are currently set for 9:30 p.m. to 8 a.m. So I can't send anything late at night or early morning. Okay. And so I have to change and modify the start time to be something past 8 o'clock. Right. So once I select 8:30 a.m., the red text disappears. But you say, well, you know what? I really want to send this early before my staff members leave to come into the office. So I'm going to leave it at 7 o'clock. Can I send the message out? Well, I can't send it as is right now, but I could, as an administrator, select this checkbox to override the blackout times. I know it's early morning. I don't care. I need to send it out at 7 o'clock. So I could select that. A staff member would not have that option, right? So you log in with your staff account, you wouldn't see that. Administrators would. All right. Now, if you want to modify the blackout times, 8 o'clock is a little late, particularly if you're sending messages to students and parents, or they've already left for the day, right? They're not at home anymore. I may want to make the blackout times a little earlier in the morning, right? So I could modify the blackout times. I'll hit close for this window. That's going to be in the settings area at the top. Now, again, administrators have access to the settings. Staff accounts would not. All right, under the settings, district administrators have access to the global settings that affect all schools. And under global settings, we'll see not only changing the password length, changing whatever the default language is for your messages, which is generally English, all right? But I could also modify the blackout times. So I could say, all right, I want to make this a little earlier, like maybe 6 o'clock. Right, anything before 6 o'clock, it's a little early in the morning. People are still sleeping. You're kind of annoying them if you're sending messages at that time, right? So administrators maybe can send it before this blackout time, but everyone else, that's kind of the default standard, 6 o'clock, the earliest. I want someone to send a message in the morning, right? I don't know. Do you have an idea what you want to set this to, or you want me to just keep what you had for the moment?
I think go ahead and keep it for 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock? Sure. All right. If you made a change, you always hit the save on the left, and then you'll see that change, and then we go back to the send area. All right. I'm going to come back to the home area. Oh, before I go back to the home area, let me stay under settings. We were talking about the account area right before, and our default reply to phone number and email address, but you had brought up that, hey, we could have custom ones to pick different options instead of always the default. So that's going to be under settings, but organization config, the first menu that you come under settings. And so I will see the district and all the schools, right? Because I can have different reply to phone numbers and emails for each school, right? So if I select the district, right, and I go down to the bottom, it says under settings, it has delivery options, right? So I'm under settings, organization config, select the district or school, and go to, on the bottom, delivery options. And in here, this is where I'm going to see the default phone number. So whenever I'm sending a phone call, people are going to see it's coming from this number, right? But it can set up other custom numbers, right? So on a per message basis, I could say, hey, I don't want the default. I want to select one of these other custom caller IDs. Now, you know, this is a fictitious number, so I may want to delete that one. But I could type in any other number and hit add and add it to the list. Right, but these are the lists, the choices for the district. Right, it could be different numbers for each school. Right, and here are the custom reply to email addresses. Right, so if I want maybe a custom reply to email address for maybe the attendance office. Right, and then put attendance at, you know, wacoisd.org or whatever it may be. Right, and hit the add. Right, another one for maybe the athletic office or the guidance office or, you know, registration office. You can set up as many custom reply to. So people could reply directly back to those emails. Okay. And then you see the save button in the lower right. All right, so it's under settings, organization config. And when you select one of the schools, you'll see delivery options on the bottom. Okay. All right, coming back to the messaging area, I click on messages. And remember, every time I return back to the messages and send, everything is blank and empty. But I'm going to pull out of my saved messages in the draft folder where I left off. All right, there I'm back with my subject and any other settings I may have set. All right, I'm going to go back under advanced options and point out in here in this advanced options window, if I do want to pick one of those custom phone numbers, reply to phone numbers or emails, it's these checkboxes right here. So I say, hey, I don't want the default caller ID. I want to pick one of these other numbers from our settings area. Or if I want to pick one of the other, instead of the do not reply at Waco ISD, I want to pick one of these other reply to email addresses like, you know, transformation Waco, Oh, just the do not reply. But I pick someone else's, right? So someone could reply directly back to another. Okay. All right. So that's where you could select those custom ones, overriding the default. Okay. All right. A couple other items on here I'll point out in the advanced options window. In addition to the blackout times, overriding the blackout times, there's a deliver to all recipient delivery addresses. All right. So what this does not mean is that by selecting, I'm sending it to everyone in the ISD. All right. It's not what it's talking about. It's still sending a message only to the recipients I have selected, but it's sending it to all of the delivery addresses in their account. All right. Meaning if I'm sending out a phone call, I could have not just one phone number in someone's account profile, they could have multiple phone numbers, but one of them is set up as a primary phone number in their account. The other ones would be like backups. But if I select this checkbox and I send a phone call to them, it's going to send it to all the phone numbers in their account, not just to the primary number. Okay. And if I send an email, they'll send it to all the email addresses in their account, not just to the primary email. Okay, so that would be the case like an emergency message, right? I'll have this selected, delivered to all recipient delivery addresses. I'm making every attempt to reach them based on the contact information I have for them, not just to their preferred primary number. Okay, delivered to parents and students. That would be maybe a case I have maybe a congratulatory message I'm sending to students that made the honor roll. Okay. So I will put the students as the recipients because I know which students made the honor roll. But I don't want to have to look up every parent account connected to those students, right? So I'll check this checkbox or have this selected so that it'll pull in all the parents connected to all of those students. I don't have to look them up.
So does that send it to the parents and the students or just the parents?
Yeah, great question. It sends it not to both. It sends it to the parents in place of the students.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to send it to the students, you would have to send like a separate message. So two messages, one with this selected and one with not selected.
So why, if you can go into the recipients and choose parents anyway, would someone normally use that checkbox?
It's the case where I have certain students. Like I don't want to send it to all parents, and I don't want to have to look up because then, like you have a student and they have 2 or 3 parent accounts, right? The mom, the dad, the step parent, or whatever, or maybe a grandparent. So that student, I don't want to have to select 4 different accounts, and I may not know which parents are connected to that student. This is the scenario. I know which students I want to contact, right? And I don't want to have to look up all the parent accounts for those students.
So what I understand is people shouldn't use this to send to all parents then. They should
Correct.
just select all parents and recipients. Okay, got it.
Yep. Yeah, because this is the parents of certain students that I put in as the recipients. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Like if we're using ID numbers. Like
Yeah.
if we're using ID numbers for specific students, then we would use that to send to the parents of, okay.
Yeah, either ID numbers or the name of the student. Either way,
Okay.
you're selecting student accounts, and I want to send it to all the parents connected to those student accounts. Yeah, because I don't know who the parents are. I know who the students are. I know which students made the honor roll, right?
Right.
So that's where that's handy. All right, the last item here on the bottom I'll mention is a message category. So this is essentially the folder, the category my sent message will be saved in, right? So the default is always miscellaneous. So when I go ahead and send a message out, right, it exits the draft folder, and that's open house message will be saved in the miscellaneous category, right? But I may want to organize, right, in these messages into different categories. So if it's an attendance message, I want it to be saved in the attendance category. If it's an athletic message, in the athletic category, and so on, right? So where my sent message will be stored. So that's under advanced options and changing right here, the message category. So you click on it and you see there's different categories you could select from. All right, and what we're going to cover tomorrow during our advanced training is I'll show you how you could create other categories, right? And in those categories, how we could create pre-built message templates we could use that are organized in those different categories. Okay, so that'll be in our advanced training tomorrow. All right, but that's always, it'll be the default will be miscellaneous until you click on here and change it to some other category. All right, I'll hit close. Before I do that, any questions on any of these options?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm going to skip languages for the moment. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But we have the last item on the left says emergency. So if I select that, I get this pop-up and it tells me, hey, my message is going to be sent immediately, right? It's going out right away. It's going to ignore blackout times and it's going to send it to all recipient numbers. All right. So if I hit OK with emergency selected, now if I open up advanced options again, I'll notice that the date and time has been reverted to the current time. So since it's an emergency message, it's going out right away. It also will ignore the blackout times. Doesn't care if it's early morning, it's an emergency message. It's going to not just the primary number, it's going to all recipient delivery addresses, but just for the recipients I have selected. Right? Making an emergency message doesn't mean it's going to everyone. I still need to select certain people as recipients. Okay. And then notice the message categories, not miscellaneous, now it's emergency. So the sent message will be saved in that category. All right, if I uncheck emergency, open advanced options again, I see, everything's reverted back to what it was before. Okay. Any questions on any of these items on the left?
No.
Okay. All right. We're halfway through. Actually, we're probably a little further. But do you guys want to take a quick break? Anyone needs to step away, use the restroom, get a drink of water or anything? Some coffee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Why don't we take like a quick break, say 5 to 7 minutes or so, and we'll start back up.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's
All right. Is everyone back?
We are just waiting for one more, so probably 1 more minute.
Okay, not a problem.
Thanks.
We're back.
All righty. Okay, so we went through accounts. We talked about kind of navigating through here and went through all the settings as far as creating a message. Now let's actually discuss actually creating the message and the different ways we could send it out. So when we come here to the send area, you'll notice the large area in the middle, the right portion, is where we actually build our message. So at the top it says template. And so this is where I would recommend creating the message. Okay. So I'll just create a sample message for our open house. Say, hello, parents. This is Mr. Quinones. Our upcoming open house is this Friday at 7 p.m. Any questions? Please call Quinta, right? Quinta, what's your number?
255 or 7. What is it? 254?
There it is.
Yeah,
555-1212. That's where they could reach you. All right. Sincerely, Ron Quinones. All right. So I have a sample message here, right? Just short and sweet. Now I notice if I create my message, underneath I see this number here in the middle, this 156. That's my character. Okay. So everything I'm typing, every letter, every period is another character, including an enter to the next line. That's also considered a character. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Now, not very important when I'm sending out a phone call, no character limit for that, or email, it's really high, so you're probably not going to hit your character limit for email. But definitely important when we're sending out like a text message or like a tweet, all right, for like to Twitter. It's going to be a character limit for those. So now when I want to send this message out, I'll notice the circles on the bottom underneath the message. So the one on the left with the gray background, that's our template. So I'll create the message once in my template, and then I'll pick all these other circles, the other modalities, different ways I want to send it out. So I want to send this message out as a phone call. So I'll click on that one. You see now it's highlighted in orange. I want to send it also as an email. So pick the envelope. I want to send it as a text message. Pick the speech bubble. I want to send it as a push notification to your mobile app, to the Waco ISD mobile app. Select the mobile phone icon. I want to post it to Facebook. I want to post it to Twitter. I want to post it on the homepage of your website. Pick the globe. I want to do it as a pop-up alert on your website. Pick the exclamation point. So essentially is what we call COPE. Create once, publish everywhere, right? COPE. create it once on the template, and I pick all these different ways I want to publish it out. Right? So it's one stop shopping. I don't have to go to Facebook and Twitter and post the message there. I don't have to go to the website, post that important message, and then send a phone call and email. I can do it all from here.
So just to confirm, this is connected to our website, right? So if we say go to website, it's going to be on the home page as an alert. How is it going to look?
Yes. For the website, there's two different ways you could post to the website. Okay. So the globe icon and the exclamation point. Okay. The globe icon will post to one of two kinds of apps and only on the home pages, right? So the ISD homepage, one of the school homepages, or both, right? I could say, hey, I don't post to all the homepages or only certain schools or just the ISD. Okay. But it's only going to be on the main homepage, and it's going to be the two kinds of apps are going to be either a headlines and features app, which is this one, the news from around the district is a headlines and features app, or an announcement app. Right? Those are the two kinds of apps you could post to for mass notifications, but only to the home page, the apps that live on the home pages, not within a section somewhere. Okay? So that's the globe. And if I do that, if I select the globe right here, how do I select which apps and which sites do I want to post to? Well, that's going to be at the 0 in the upper right corner. All right, I click on that. So right now it's not posting to any apps. So I click the 0, and this is where I'm going to select which sites and which apps on those sites I want to post to. Now, as I select it, it's giving me this message. Please sign in to the BB website using the navigation bar at the top of this page. All right, so I'm going to see this message once, essentially, if I've never logged into the website from here. So what it's talking about is the navigation bar at the top of the page. It's referring to this waffle-looking icon in the upper right corner, right? That's what we call our UNAV, or universal navigation. So this icon, if I click on it, it's a way for me to toggle from where I am right now in BB Communications to the website. So while I'm in here, I could just click on the BB website and go right to the site manager in the back end of the website. And while I'm there, I'll see the same icon in the upper right corner of the website and site manager, and click on BB Communications and come back here. So I could toggle back and forth between the two windows all the time. Okay. But if I've never done it.
Typically, whenever we log into the website, we use the Google single sign-in, and if you use this waffle to log in, it doesn't give you that option.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, this is if you're logging with a local account, you'll have this option for the universal navigation, right? If you're logging with the Google single sign-on, I don't think you're right. I don't think it's available on that, logging in that way. So I'm not sure if it can be turned on though, so that may be something we could check with support. If you want to call or contact support and say, hey, we're logging with Google, is the universal navigation an option for us, right? It could be something they may be able to turn on in the settings area that support has access to, but you may not. Okay, but if I'm clicking on here and I hit BB website, what it's going to give me is only the first time. I've never done this. It's going to ask me, hey, what's my login credentials for the website? Right, so I'm going to put in my website username and password and hit sign in. And it says, woohoo, all systems to go. So I put my credentials in correctly and I hit continue to Web Community Manager. So then you'll see it'll open up the back end of the website. I'm in Site Manager. And then when I'm here, I'll see the same icon in the upper right here. And now I'll click on and go back to BB Communications. So I don't have to enter my credentials again. Once I log into BB Communications, I enter my website credentials. Now it knows who I am in both areas. Now it's just a toggle back and forth every time I click on here, right? But now when I go back to the messaging area, and I'll select my message out of my draft folder again. I notice it pulls in my subject again, wherever I left off, all the modalities I already had selected. When I go to the globe, now when I hit the 0, now because I logged into the website, it knows what what access I have on the website. And it shows me appropriately which sites or schools I have edited sites for. So that's why before I log into the website, it doesn't allow me to post to the website until it knows what rights I have on the website, right? So now that I've logged in and it knows I'm a site director of the website, it knows I have editing rights to the district and any of the schools. So I could pick the district, right? We only have one district site. And so say, all right, I could post to the app called News from Around the District. That's on the homepage. And then I could say, hey, I want to come back and say, I also want to post to one of the high schools, maybe Waco High School, and I want to post the app called the Pride Times and WHS announcements. Right? And so now I'm posting to 3 different apps. Okay. Now, if I don't want to post to anything on the website, I could always turn that off. So as I select the circles down below, I could deactivate these and turn them off with the X in the upper right corner. Say, hey, I'm not going to post to the website. See, now it's grayed out again. Okay. Another way to post to the website is with the exclamation point. And that's going to create what we call an on-screen alert. So an on-screen alert is the pop-ups that appear on your page. So if I open up this sample site to show you what it looks like, maybe you guys have utilized this, maybe not. Just show you an example. An on-screen alert once my page finishes loading. Oh my gosh, it's running so slow. All right, so here it is. This is an example of an on-screen alert. All right, so you get a pop-up on the website. It's something, if it's a new alert that someone has not seen, they'll get the pop-up alert first. They won't see the website page they tried to navigate to. See the pop-up alert, they'll see either one or multiple alerts on here. They read the alert, they acknowledge it by clicking OK, I got it, and it minimizes that circle in the lower right, and that circle will stay there until the expiration for that alert. Now, as they navigate to the website, they won't get the pop-up alert again, but it'll be minimized down here until it expires. All right, so they can always click on the circle again, see the message again if they want. Circle goes away at the expiration. Okay.
Is there a character limit?
Character limit for that? For the on-screen alert, I don't think there is, but you know, I'll have to double check on that. Yeah, I've seen alerts that are pretty long, so it's not like 100, 140 characters or anything like that. It's not short. Yeah, but the longer the alert, the larger the pop-up box. It'll show it a little bit larger. You'll even see a scroll bar within it. So it's definitely not a short limit. All right, so if I don't want a pop-up alert, or if I want a pop-up alert and I want to decide which sites do I want the alert to appear on, because you don't have to show it on every site, you hit the 0 in the upper right corner and say, hey, I want it everywhere on every site to pop up, or I can say just only certain sites, maybe just the high schools. Right, and the pop-up alerts appearing on 4 sites. Right, or I say, hey, I want no alert, so I'll hit the X in the upper right and turn it off. So you can always select the circles down below, but you deselect with the X in the upper right corner. Okay, now you can post to social media as well. So hit the 0 and then decide which Twitter accounts you want to post to. And right now there's only one Twitter account that has been set up. It's for Alta Vista Elementary. Right, I could post to Facebook too, and Alta Vista is the only Facebook account's been set up. Okay, now if you want to set up more social media accounts, you could go to the settings area at the top and go to the sub menu that says social media. And from here, since I'm an administrator for the ISD, I have access to set up any of the settings for any of the schools. And you can see on the right now, just one account, one Facebook account, one Twitter account for Alta Vista. None of the other schools have social media set up yet. All right, but I can always click on the ISD or any of the locations and add an account by clicking the icons like Facebook or Twitter, right? When I do that, it's going to want me to log in to my account, right? But if this is not me, I'll hit forget my password and say, this is not me. Well, say not me, not you. And it'll log me out. So just bringing in my browser saying I'm already logged into my Facebook. But okay. All right, so basically now when I click on here, it's gonna take me, it's just gonna give me a general login. So whatever the email or phone for that account and the password. So you need the credentials for that account to be able to add it here so you could post to it. Okay, same thing for Twitter. It's gonna ask me for a login for that Twitter account. And if I put it in correctly, it'll be an authorized button. So you're basically authorizing so I could post for mass notifications to that account. Once you add them here,
when you say,
the circles will show up.
When you say credentials, do you mean the original credentials used to create the account, or can it be an admin's credentials?
It would have to be the credentials that are in an account. So if you're an administrator for that account, right, you have ability to post to those accounts. You just put in those same credentials, right, and you can authorize it here.
So most people who are posting to accounts are posting as admins. They're not the only person on that account. So could we use their admin credentials, or it has to be the credentials that were used to create the account?
I believe you could just add the admin credentials as yeah. So when you're posting to those social media accounts directly on Facebook or Twitter, the same ones you're able to log in with to be able to post to those accounts, that's what you could add in here. Yeah.
Okay, we'll try
once those accounts are added, say like if I'm logging with as maybe a principal for Alta Vista, I'll see this on here. But if I log in for any other school, I won't see those circles because no accounts have been set up for those other schools, right?
Right.
But that's what those circles won't appear if you're logging in and there's not an account for those schools. Okay. Once you add them, then that's when the circles appear down here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's turn off some of these. So I don't want to post to social media. I don't want to post a push notification to mobile apps. I'll turn that one off. And I'm going to leave just these three, right? Doing a push notification, not a push notification, sorry, sending out a text message, an email, and a phone. All right, so let's start talking about text message, right? So I see the message in here, and here's the nice thing about creating it on the template first. Once I select all the circles, it just basically copies that same message into all these modalities. Okay, so I don't have to copy and paste them multiple times, just hit the circles. Okay, now when I have a text message, the big thing you need to know is the character limit. So it's 140 character limit. I'm above that right now. I'm at 156. Therefore, it shows it in red. If I hit the send button right now, it will not send anything, right? And I see the red bar at the top says I need to provide a shorter text for English text SMS. I'm above the limit. I need to provide audio for phone and just select one recipient. Okay, and I'll notice the circles, the red circles with the exclamation point next to those modalities. So I have an error for phone, I have an error for text. No error for email, right? So when I click to send, no error for email, no emails went out though, right? Nothing gets sent until I fix all the issues. Okay. Now the issue right here for text, I'm above the character limit. So if I say I take out maybe the signature, right, now I'm underneath the character limit, red exclamation point goes away. The red text is no longer in red, now it's in gray. So I'm 131 characters under the limit. Okay. Now I still have an error for phone. And that's basically, if I select phone, it's waiting for me to record a message. Okay, set to call me to record. I haven't recorded anything, so it has nothing to send. It's waiting, it's looking for some recording. All right, the other issue is on the left side, recipients. Right now, I added myself as the recipient before, but every time I exit the send area, all right, I went under the settings, right, and I came back here to the send, I'm pulling my message out of the draft folder, right, to add in my subject and my message and all my settings, but it doesn't pull my recipients back in. That's the one thing it doesn't add. So anytime I exit the send, I would have to add my recipients back in here. That's why I typically leave that for last, because if I want to construct everything, I may want to go to the settings area or look up an account or something like that. I don't want to have to come back here and add my recipients every time. All right, and also I can accidentally send a message by phone or email or text if I have no recipients. Okay. Yeah, so that'll be maybe one of the last things I would do is add the recipients in. All right, so there it is. That's for text, it's 140 characters. Now that's really kind of short, all right? So there is an expanded limit. If you're interested, it doubles it, 280. So you could contact like your project manager if you're interested in putting that in. I'm not sure if there's a fee or what the fee is, but they'll be able to let you know on that. It's really helpful sometimes expanding that limit because 140 is pretty short. Sometimes it's really difficult to get a message under that character limit. Right, particularly if other languages too. If I translate this into Spanish, character limit is going to be larger, right? So not the character limit will be larger. Actually, the number of characters you have will be larger. And again, you'll probably be over the character limit then. Have to cut it down even further. All right, so that's text. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. All right, let me come over now to email. And you notice I have a simple just text on here, but maybe for the email, I want to add in some pictures. I want to add some links and files and different stuff, or maybe do some formatting, right? So I can add some more to this by clicking the More link in the upper left. I click on that, it expands the toolbar, and I can see, you know, a bunch of other text formatting. I see an icon to insert an image, right? I could grab an image from my computer, upload it in here, you know. I could also create some hyperlinks, highlight some text, you know, so say open house and make a link to a certain website or something. I could attach some files with the paper clip in the lower left, right? And I could add up to 9 file attachments, up to 20 megabytes each, right? So it doesn't really restrict you very much on that. And I even have an option right here on the right to maybe embed a s'more newsletter. All right, so I could click on create a newsletter. It will take me to my s'more account. I could grab either existing newsletters or create a new one from scratch and then embed it right in here. All right, and then send it out. All right, so those are basically the different ways to use the email modality.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the newsletters, are you guys compatible with Canva for newsletters or only s'more?
Just s'more right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you could export, I'm not sure from Canva, I'm not completely familiar with all the options with that, but if you could export maybe from Canva like an embed, then you could come here into the source code and put it in. So this is just if, you know, for those that want to work with HTML or something, you could put in maybe the iframe, that embed code for that. That might be one way to do it. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, but directly integrated in here, just s'more right now. All right, let me go to the last modality, the phone. Okay, so with the phone, you have a few different ways to send the phone call. And you notice in the drop-down some of the different options you have in here. So the first one is call me to record, meaning if I'm going to send something out, I need to record a message. And with call me to record, I'll just put in my phone number here and then hit the call me record button. Right, and so what it's going to do, it's going to call that phone, my cell phone, and I'm recording a message on my phone. All right, so let me turn up my volume so you can hear this. Hit the call me to record. Initializing, waiting for a line. Now it's dialing. There it goes. I'll answer it.
Begin speaking at the tone and press the pound key to end your message.
Hello, parents. This is Mr. Quinones. Our upcoming open house is this Friday at 7 p.m. Any questions, please call Quinta at 555-1212. Have a great rest of your day.
To save this message, press 1. To listen to what you have recorded, press 2. To re-record this message, press 3. This message has been saved. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Right, there it is. And so less than 30 seconds, I'm done. All right. So now as I put in my number, click the button, it took only a few seconds before my phone started ringing, right? I pick up the phone and it says, at the tone, record your message. When you're done recording, press pound. All right, so it beeps. I start saying whatever I want. I just basically read what was on here, but I got to the end. I didn't want to say the signature. I said, hey, have a great rest of your day. So I could either read what's on here or say whatever I want, right? Then I pressed the pound key because I was done with the message. Then it gave me my options. It says, to save what you've recorded, press 1. To hear what you've recorded, press 2. To re-record your message, press 3. So I pressed 1. And then it says, your message has been saved. Thank you for calling. Goodbye, and hangs up automatically. All right, and so it's pretty easy. At the tone, record your message, press pound. Did that, and it gave me save, listen to it, or re-record. All right, now once I hit save and it hung up, it shows me right here. It was 13 seconds long. Since I didn't listen to it while I was on the phone, I could always hit the play button and listen to it now. Hello, parents. This is Mr. Quinones. Our upcoming open house is this Friday at 7 p.m. And I could hit stop because if I hear it and it didn't sound good, and say, all right, I already messed up at the beginning, I can hit delete, right? Delete the message and then try it again, right? Which I could have done if I pressed 2 when I was on the phone, right? And then listen to it and then say, oh, no, it doesn't sound good. And I can hit 3, then re-record it, right? Do it all in one phone call. All right. Pretty easy. Any questions on that? Recording it with your phone?
Nope.
Anyone want to try it? You could just put in your cell phone right here if you want to try recording it. I mean, it's pretty simple. You don't have to, but anyone want to, this is hands-on. I want to give you an opportunity to try some stuff out.
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. All right, let's look at some other options right here. Call in to record. Okay, so that second option, it gives me a phone number to dial, an ID number to put in, and then the options after that are exactly the same, right? It'll say, at the tone, record your message. When you're done recording, press pound, right? And then the same thing, after you press pound, it'll say, to save your message, press 1, and so on. Same exact way. So you say, well, what's the difference then? Whether I enter my number and it calls me or I call this number, what's the difference? The difference is, and why there's 2 options, is that maybe you don't want to record it yourself in your voice. Maybe your spouse, your neighbor, one of your colleagues, they have a great radio voice, right? You want them to record it for you, right? So the call and record, you could give this phone number and the ID number to anyone you want, right? And tell them what you want them to record. They can record it on your behalf, right? They don't even have to have an account in here. They don't even have to log in, right? You just give them the number and the ID and they can record it. Okay. And that comes in handy, particularly when I have maybe other languages turned on, right? So on the left, it always starts at our default language of English, but I could say, hey, I want this message to go out in English and Spanish, right? So I have two languages it's going out by. Notice with the phone call, it translates using a Google Translate, automatically translates the message, the phone call into Spanish. It translates the email into Spanish, and it translates the text into Spanish. But notice on the bottom, I see the red exclamation point because the translation, it's more characters, it's above the limit now. Right, so again, I have to cut it down even further in order for the Spanish version to text message to go out. Okay, now if I'm cutting it down so far that I'm not getting really the same information, I could decide, you know what, actually I'm not going to send the text in Spanish. I could just turn it off. Right, and so for Spanish, it's only going out by email and by phone. Right, but if I select English on the left, the English is still going out, you know, by phone, email, and text. So essentially, I have 5 separate versions going out, right? One English phone, one Spanish phone, one English email, one Spanish email version, and then one English text version. And I can modify them all separately. So as I change and cut down and take out the signature for the text, it does not affect the email version, doesn't affect the phone version. I could add more info here, right? Or I could take out information. It won't affect the other modalities, the other edits. Okay. And so for now the phone, when I had the English, I may want to record the English phone call in my voice. Do call me to record. But for Spanish, maybe I'll change this to call in to record, and I'll give this information as a different ID for the Spanish phone call. I'll give this information to my Spanish speaking colleague, and they'll record the Spanish version phone call for me because they'll do a better job. Right. So that's why I call in to record. Anytime you want someone else to record the message for you. All right, any questions on that? Call me to record versus call in?
No, we do utilize upload audio files sometimes. So can you just confirm which types of files that we can use?
Yeah, the IAFF file types and the WAV. Yeah, so it's just 2 file types.
And then text to speech is an option too, right?
Yeah, yes, it is. Absolutely. So I have on here, here's the upload audio file. You'll see that and you can upload it. Text to speech. So then I don't have to record anything, right? I just will hit send and it'll read exactly what you have typed in here. That's when it is important what you have typed in here. Instead of me saying whatever I want in my recording, text to speech, it'll be exactly what's in here. So, and if I hit play, you'll hear.
Hello, parents. This is Mr. Quinones. Our upcoming open house is this Friday at 7 p.m. Any questions? Please call Kinta at 555-1212. Sincerely, Ron Quinones.
All right, so that's what it is in English. I go to Spanish and do text to speech.
Hola, padres. Este es el señor Quiñones. Nuestra próxima casa abierta es este viernes a las 7 p.m. Cualquier pregunta, por favor llame a Quinta al 500.
All right, and you can hear different voice, different inflection, right, for that language. All right, there's even, if you want to use the English audio, instead of recording something separately, it'll use the English recording right? Or use microphone, right? So this is, instead of using your phone to record the message, you can use your computer microphone to record the message. Maybe the microphone is broken on your phone because you dropped it or something like that. Or your phone died, right? The battery died and you don't want to wait to charge it. You could just, you need to send something right away, just use your computer microphone. Right, so that's in any of the languages you have those options. Okay, now for the languages over here, I'm sending out a message in both English and Spanish, right? And then I can modify the content of each of those in all those languages. When I send out the message, people are not receiving 2 phone calls and 2 emails. They're still receiving 1 phone call, 1 email, right? Which language version they get is going to be based on the preferred language field in their account. Right, now, if you don't send it out in Spanish, so if I hit the trash bin and turn off the Spanish version and just send it out in English, just know if someone has the preferred language of Spanish in their account, they're going to get the English version, right? Because it's the only version I'm sending out, right? So despite that they would prefer Spanish, I didn't send it out in Spanish, so they're still going to get a message though. They're still going to get it in English. Okay. And the other important thing with the translations is to Google Translate. So it's not always 100%. Some words and phrases do not get translated properly sometimes, like the word shot. Right? Like a vaccination shot's not the same thing as like a gunshot. So it's going to be different. It may not translate properly. So, so just keep that in mind. You may want someone who speaks that language to check it, right? And make sure it's translated properly. Okay, any questions there on the languages or the different modalities or different ways for the phone?
No.
Okay, all right, so that's everything on here. Let's send this test message, right? So I do a double check. I check modalities. I'll check my phone, the languages that I have set, make sure I have emergency turned on or off depending on what I need, and my recipients. Right, so I'll come on here and I'll add in, send a message to myself. Okay, all right, I'm ready to send it out. So I'm going to hit the send button in the lower right. Savings, creating a batch, and it says it's done. All right, once it's done sending the message, it takes me from the messages in send area, it takes me right into my outbox. So I'll see that subject, see the ways it's going out, see the time it got initiated, right? See the current status. So current means it's currently in the process of sending to all the recipients. Once it reaches all the recipients, or at least makes 3 attempts. Or here, let me pick up the phone.
Hello, parents. This is Mr. Quinones. Our upcoming open house is this Friday at 7 p.m. Any questions, please call Quinta at 555-1212. Sincerely, Ron Quinones. Repeat this message. Press star to opt out of informational calls. Press 9 or call 855-502-7867.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. There you go. All right, so then it automatically hangs up, right? So you heard the message. My text also came in. I'm seeing that on my phone. And let me see if I open up my email, show you what that looks like too. Right, but I notice it here in the outbox, right? It says current. Now I'm going to refresh and notice the progress bars on the right. It starts as gray, but then it's going to go to purple, which is kind of the first status, meaning, all right, it successfully exited the system, nothing errored out, right? Then eventually it'll go to green or red or blue, some other status, depending on whether they received the message or not, or went to a busy signal or couldn't be delivered, or right, different colors for different statuses. Okay. Now the status column where it says current or complete, it'll remain current until it reaches everyone, right? Every email got delivered, or they picked up and listened to the message and whatever, or it makes at least 3 attempts to reach those individuals, right? So if it just rings and rings and rings and no one picks up, nothing happens, doesn't go to an answer machine, then it'll make that first attempt and then wait a few minutes and then make a second attempt to try and reach those individuals. And then if it still can't reach them, then it'll make a third attempt. After the third attempt, then it stops trying to reach that address, right? Once it reaches everyone or makes 3 attempts for everyone, then it goes to complete, right? It's done trying to send anything at that point. Okay. All right, now from here in the outbox, I could go back to the send area and I'll notice my message is no longer in draft. So there's nothing in draft status. I don't see the folder. It's moved over now to miscellaneous. So there's my open house. So I could always select it from here, right? And I see the modalities that went out by and the versions, right? Here's the phone call and the email and the text. I could copy this message. I either send it as is, exactly as it is from last time, or hit copy. If I hit copy, it'll put a copy in draft. And then I could modify that, pick other modalities or edit the content of them, and then send it again. All right, so you can just grab previously sent ones, copy, edit, and send. Okay. I could also get rid of some of these previously sent messages, hover over and hit the trash bin. But if I go to the outbox again, I could actually click on the message title, and what's going to do is going to take me to the reports area. It's going to run the message tracking report for that message, right? Which we'll look at in a moment. But any questions there as far as sending? You guys want to? I'm not sure if you have something set up already in here. Do you want to send a test message yourself?
Let's see.
Yeah. What you need to do is select yourself as a recipient, put a subject in, type something in here, select the modality, and hit send.
Okay, sent.
Okay. All right. Now if I go to outbox, let's see. Now, what did you title it?
Test L.D.
Okay.
It's nothing fancy.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Now, if I click on the title here, I'm in the outbox. I'm not seeing yours yet, but I'm seeing mine. If I click on the title, it's going to run the message tracking report. If I click on it, you notice at the top, I'm in the reports menu now. I'm in the message tracking report. It shows me this ring graph. Since I only send it to one person, it's one solid color. But I will see a breakdown. If I send it to a bunch of people, I'll see a breakdown with the colors in the ring graph, right? So it's going to look kind of like this, right? So for the phone modality, I tried to deliver it to almost 8,000 people, but it only got delivered to 3,200 plus. Only 41% of my recipients got it. So the different colors in the ring graph relate to these colors down here. So the large portion, the majority of my recipients of this gray color says the recipient had no phone number. So I tried to send a phone call to a bunch of people that don't have a phone number in their account, right? Or I may see some people picked it up live, listened to the message live. Some went to an answer machine, some went to a busy signal. Some people, their phone number is deactivated, or it's blocked, right? Or it's an invalid phone number. Maybe they have 12 digits or something, right? So it'll give you a raw number and a percentage of your recipients. Right, and the same thing for text and email.
Can you still click on, let's say, under text delivered, text message received? Can you click on that still and see, and it lists out all the people that received it?
Yes. Either click on the line where it says live answer or click on the green portion of the ring graph. Okay. Either way. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to click on the line because some of these slivers are really small, right? It's hard to click and select them. So sometimes it's easier to click on the line, but it'll show you a list of those numbers, the person, the name for that person that has that delivery address, and then the status. And you can even click on the details and get a little more details for each of those numbers. So it'll open up like the information from their account profile.
I just want to confirm who is able to do that. Is it only admin, or can staff do that as well? Look at those reports.
Yeah, I think staff have access to, well, they don't have access to all the reports, but they may have access to the message tracking. So let me see right here. If I go to a staff one, they may not have access to the message tracking. So let me double check. Come on. All right, so I'll hit sign in as, and yeah, they have message to the message tracking, right? So I see that rectangle on here. So they could see, since they are able to send messages, they have access to track those messages that they send. If I go to the reports area, notice they don't have all the same reports like an administrator have, but they do have the message tracking in that contact report.
Okay.
Yeah. Now when I open up if I open up the message tracking, since this person is a staff at the administrator building, they could only run the message tracking report for the administration building, right? And they could, filter by the categories or the date range or different modalities and so on. They hit generate report, and it's just for reports for administration building, right? No messages found, right? But if I go in as myself, I could run it for any of the schools. Right. So when I go to the reports area, I have access to a lot more reports, including the message tracking at the top or the message tracking on the bottom. Or if I happen to be in the messaging menu, I also have access to the message tracking here. Or if I happen to be on the home screen where it says messages sent, that's a quick link to the message tracking report. So we put it in a lot of places, right? It's the most popular report you're probably going to use. Right, if I hit generate report on the right, or I could schedule it, right? So I could run this and have it scheduled to be sent to me, every day or every week, right? If I hit generate report, and I could see here's the messages, right? Test LD, and I could see it went to one person, it only went as a text message and the time.
That's neat.
Yeah, I can see other messages. These are future messages, but I could see how many people it's going to go to. Right, and so on. So these are the two that I went. If I click and open it up, you can click on the ring graph and see. But I could also check these other tabs, like the content of the message, see what languages it went out by, see the modalities in the content of the phone or the content of the email, the content of the text. And I could check the details tab, see what category it was saved in, who the sender was, and I could even click on view recipients and see who it went to. Now, if I click on their account names, it actually opens up their account profile. And in every account profile, there's a contacts tab. So this contacts tab is going to be a full history. Waiting for it to finish loading. All right, here it is. A full history of all the messages we tried to send to them, whether they received it or not. Right? So I don't see my open house message yet because it will take a few minutes before that updates in here, because I have to get information back from the email server. I have to get information back from the phone carriers, Verizon, AT&T, whoever, and they'll send a message. All right, it went to an answering machine. Oh, it didn't get delivered or whatever. Right? But once I get the information back, it appears here. I'll see the status. Yeah, email accepted by provider. Text message received. This other message went to an answering machine. I can see, the delivery addresses on the right, right? It may say if they had no phone number in their account, it'll say, you know, user does not have a phone number, right? And then it'll have no destination over here. There's no phone number. So full history, whether they received the message or not. Okay. All right, so that's the message tracking report. Another useful report is going to be the bad phone and email report, right? And you also see a quick link for that on the dashboard, the home screen. This bad phone and email. So if I run that, you'll see, as someone at the ISD, I'll see overall numbers, right? So no bad email addresses, but there are some bad phone numbers and text numbers, and then a breakdown per school, right? So now I could click on one of these, say like for Hines Elementary, and it's running the report just for Hines. I can see all the individuals, what account type it is, a parent account, what address is bad, and then on the right, all the way to the right, an icon. So the red triangles is deactivated. It's deactivated by T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T, you know. The yellow flags is based on delivery attempts, right? So I tried to send a message to this number, couldn't reach it. So after the third attempt, it'll put this on the bad phone and email report. And the last one, let me see if we have any. Let me filter for invalid. See if we have any that are invalid. Nope. Invalid, I'm going to see an icon on the right that has a red circle. So that would be a phone number, a text number, less than or greater than 10 numbers, right? Missing the area code or someone tried to put an extension in, right? It's considered invalid format, right? An invalid format for an email would be an email that's missing the @ sign, has a space in the middle of the email address, okay? You know, things like that. Or has two emails, has two @ signs. Someone put two emails in at a time, right? The system doesn't know it's two emails, but we see there's two @ signs. All the system knows it's an invalid format. Okay. All right, so that's the bad phone and email report. Last report I'll point out on here is the do not contact report. So this is like an opt-out report. They get the phone call, and at the end of the phone call, so if you want to opt out of informational calls, dial 9 or, you know, press 9 or dial, and gives the phone number to dial, right? So everyone has a legal right to be able to opt out for receiving messages. Same thing, there'll be like a unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email that they receive. And at the text, it'll say, reply stop, it'll say that. So you could see on this where you could either add people to the do not contact report. You could upload a bunch at a time and add them to the report. You could click on opt-out totals to see who's currently opted out. Or you could also click on the link where it says on the right, opt-out, opt-in instructions, right? So you could provide this on your website. You could give this to the people who are answering the phones at the schools so they could tell people how to opt out or how to opt back in. Okay, so that's the do not contact or opt out report. All right, any questions? Anything we went over today?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave the one thing for tomorrow is the Get the Admin app. So I'll discuss that tomorrow just for sake of time. Won't take very long, but we'll just save that because tomorrow's session will be a little bit shorter than today's. Yeah.
When will you send over the recordings? Will you send them one at a time or all at once?
I could do it one at a time if you like. Yeah, I typically send a follow-up email after each session. So
okay.
So I'll send the recording for today's and today's follow-up email.